Hello, and welcome back to Silent Hill 2. So, we just entered the Brookhaven Hospital, and first things first, we're gonna grab the map. Now this area you actually revisit in Silent Hill 3, although it's redone. The normal area, you know, the not otherworld area, is pretty much the same. Except they changed some of the layout in the rooms that are locked or unlocked. But the other world is completely different. So this is the, not even sure what room this is, but I'm gonna walk over here and there's a typewriter, and I like that Maria just appears in the room that you walk in. It kind of makes sense. There's no real lore explanation for it, but you can kind of write it off as just, you know, she's part of the town, so maybe she can kind of teleport. Also, there's some parts where it's very clearly done just to scare you. So that's pretty cool. So there's a memo here. Something is written on it. The potential for this illness exists in all people, and under the right circumstances, any man or woman would be driven, like him, to, quote-unquote, the other side. The other side perhaps may not be the best way to phrase it. After all, there is no wall between here and there. It lies on the border between reality and unreality. It lies on the borders where unreality and reality intersect. It is a place both close and distant. Some say it isn't even an illness. I cannot agree with them. I'm a doctor, not a philosopher or even a psychiatrist. But sometimes I have to ask myself this question. It's true that to us his imaginings are nothing but the inventions of a busy mind, but to him there's simply no other reality. Furthermore, he is happy there. So why, I ask myself, why in the name of healing him must we drag him painfully into the world of our own reality? Something else is written by hand. I got the key from Joseph. It's probably the key to that box. So we picked up that little key there. It's called the Purple Bull key, because there's a purple bull on it. Now I think that's my favorite memo in the whole game, besides the Mary's letter. Just because it's a great examination of if somebody's crazy, if somebody's, you know, schizophrenic or having delusions, is it better to try and convince them of our own reality or not? And of course this does play into the themes of the game. Oh, it's locked. That's odd. I guess not, but yeah, it plays into the themes of the game, what with, you know, delusions and reality, and the other side is sort of a weird hint at the other world, and whether it's exactly referring to that or just the guy's delusions it's unclear, but locked. So I'm just clearing up the map so that we know exactly what's locked and what's unlocked and everything. Because when I speedrun this area, I don't need to know it nearly as well. Well, I need to know it well, but I never have the map. And how she stares at you is so creepy, but yeah, I know exactly where to go, and I know the codes for all the doors, so I'm trying to remember where you find the codes. Funny enough. Now this is our introduction to the bubble. Excuse me, I'm gonna try and run past them, but the bubblehead nurses, and I'll show you some concept art of them and their renders. Uh-oh, we can't let Maria die, so actually, I have plenty of pistol ammo. Sorry, wow, 163. Even without bullet adjust, we're doing well. So let me just get rid of them really quickly. I'll get a good shot so you can see him. You see it kinda is faceless, very visible cleavage, and a skirt showing a lot of leg. And on the back it does have pretty pronounced buttocks, like the lying figure. But now I'll eliminate it so I can speak in peace about what they represent. There must be another one here, because the music's not cutting out. Or alternatively, it just takes a minute. Oh, it's because there's a mannequin right here. Even after playing this game so many times, I still get spooked by the enemies. Sometimes. Even the, I believe the former world record speedrunner would talk about how frightened he would get. Even just still speedrunning it, he'll come across an enemy, and it'll still spook him sometimes. But anyways, I'm going to talk about the bubblehead nurses really quickly, and you can see they're kind of pronounced. But basically, the nurses represent, James was going in to see Mary because she was so sick that she was hospitalized, and with the sexual frustration he was experiencing, and the lack of any, way to relieve himself, what with Mary sick and unable to have sex, basically, he would see all these nurses coming in and out of the room, changing IV bags and, taking pulses and all sorts of just, random, meaningless little caregiving activities. And he would see these nurses go in and out, and with his ramping sexual frustration, he would start to notice, notice their cleavage, or notice their butt, or notice their legs, and so on. But because they all sort of blurred together in the time that he was hanging out with Mary there, they're faceless, because all these faceless sexy nurses were coming in. They're uncaring, they're unremarkable, with the exception of one named Rachel, who we'll talk about later when we learn about her. But yeah, it's one of the most iconic, alongside Pyramid Head. It's used in Homecoming. It's used in the movies, just for brand recognition, because it's a really noticeable and memorable design. And there are nurses in Silent Hill 3 and Silent Hill 1, but their design is different and fitting to the psyche of the protagonist, which is Alessa and then Heather, respectively. But yeah, really interesting enemy, really cool enemy. And later on, we'll get a different version of them called the Otherworld Nurse, which is just a different color scheme, basically. There's a few little differences, but they just look darker and dirtier. So, I will digress and move on. Oh, this room's all... No shit, you can't get the door open. There's not even a door. I believe I can go in both of these rooms. Oh, this is my favorite moment. You can get a good angle here, and it will appear that James is looking right at the camera, and he says, "This is no time to be looking at a stupid poster." It's a great little moment. I love that. There's a magazine. It won't do any good. A little art on the wall there. Nothing remarkable. So I don't think there's anything in here. There's another poster there, but I think James just says the same thing. But I like to go in there because, whoa, Jesus Maria. And here we see a little teddy bear. We'll see a few more teddy bears later.
Ow. What's wrong?
I just pricked myself.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a bent needle from this little teddy bear. There's some art there that says Jack ... But in this locker we have a shotgun. There's a shotgun in the locker. I got a shotgun. Perfect. Just a normal stuffed animal. And there's a guy riding his hog on on that poster. So we got a shotgun. Very cool. Now, let me think for a moment. I think I can go through here. Yep. Okay, so we are going according to plan in our grid pattern. I got this first aid kit, and there's a nice typewriter here with some carbon paper, and I know it. I know the number of the box, 7981. It can't help him anymore, but the button key doesn't scare me, so nobody can stop who I am. I don't know who I am is who I am is who I am is. So that actual number, it looks kind of spaced out from the rest because it's actually randomized. So you do have to check this and one other number during a speedrun because it's different every time. So 7981. I'm going to check if that memo actually saves. Yep. Perfect. So during a speedrun, you just have to remember that and the other number, which we'll find pretty shortly. But it just, yeah. I just heard a slime noise. That's odd. He's she's just hanging out over there. So here's the lapis eye key and some shotgun shells. I'm going to examine the lapis eye key. The iris part is made of lapis lazuli, which James knows for some reason. And I guess we can't examine the purple bull key, but you can kind of see. So all this, as you was hinted at in the carbon paper memo, all this... Uh-oh. All this is they're keys for a certain box later on in the game. Is there something on the oh, yep, I was just missing it. So there's a box later on, which requires 4 keys. 2 codes, excuse my stomach grumbling. There are 2 number codes which are randomized. One was from the carbon imprint, and 2 keys, the lapis eye key and the purple wool key. And when we get there, I will show you the box. Oh. I actually haven't seen these rooms in a very long time because I've been speedrunning the game so often. You don't go in these non-essential rooms, which have just supplies. But it is a survival horror game, and I want to show you the complete game. That's the point of this playthrough. So I'm going in every single room. Now, this is the only, I believe, the only... I'll show you this elevator doesn't work. Oh, there's a cover over the button. That's weird. But yeah, the elevator is broken for now. But, oops, I accidentally switched to the shot. Oh, I forgot we had the chainsaw. Maybe I'll use it on an unsuspecting nurse to get back at her for being so sexy. Hey, Maria. Now, we do need a key called the examination room key, which I believe might actually even be on the 2nd floor, and we may have missed it, but I don't think so. I'll show you how this chainsaw works. So you'll see it kills pretty instantly. It's one shot for most enemies, except I believe... Now these nurse pipe attacks do quite a bit of damage. And James does this weird swinging attack. I'm gonna see if I can get this. So sometimes it's hard to get because it's a really rare Easter egg, but if you stand over a dead body of an enemy, James will raise the chainsaw over his head and shake it like Leatherface, which is pretty funny. Excuse me, cunt. This elevator is locked. This door is open later on. This door is open later on as well. And here we have a keypad, and we need to find out the code, which we will find out. But we need to find the examination room key. Excuse me, cunt. Getting in the way. Okay, here it is. I remember. It's in this lab jacket. Examination room key. So the reason I forget where that is because there is the code for the third floor door is actually set, so you just remember it in a speed run, and it's 7335. But you need the examination room key to open the examination room and find the code in there. I'll show you that. Or maybe I won't. I think it might be on the other side. Yep. My bad. Forgive me for this mistake. And here we've got... Ooh. Now there's a very strange little tone playing. Shotgun shells. Perfect. Which is just meant for fear. And here's where the code is written on this whiteboard. Third floor patient wing hall, 7335. And it's different on the different difficulties. There's a memo hanging on the refrigerator. Food only, do not store drugs. And in, I think I can actually walk out this door. Yep. In Silent Hill 3 you can check that fridge, and there's a health drink inside of it. Which I think is funny because still nobody really knows what the health drinks are. They're just health drinks. Like, there's some implication that maybe they're energy drinks or something. But I like that health drinks are... Heather assumes in the universe that the fridge would be stocked with them. 7-3 feet. Perfect. I'm going to switch back to my handgun because I don't want to take too much damage. Just check all the rooms for completion's sake. I think this, the next one opens.
James. Wait a minute. I'm kinda tired. It's just a hangover.
You should rest.
So comfy.
I'm gonna go look for her. For Laura. I'll be back as soon as I can.
So that's just a short little cutscene. And I got the roof key. I'm gonna talk to her one more time.
I'll be okay soon. Did you find Laura?
I didn't leave the room. Okay. So, we just kind of drop off Maria there. And it actually does affect your ending if you go and check on her a bunch of times. And here's a little shower room, which is really busted up, and there's some green slime there. I guess this is the Nickelodeon shower room. check this door. I'm pretty sure all but one or two of these is locked. If you ready your weapon and then hit the reload button, he'll reload before he runs out of ammo. So here's a nice, very well lit room. I'm gonna turn off the flashlight. Now this is something, if anybody follows the two best friends, they did a playthrough of Silent Hill 2, and in this room they tested out the noise effect, and I wanted to show you that noise effect. Now in the original games, oops, wrong menu, it's advanced options, but in the original PS2 and Xbox games, it was so low res right off the bat that it just made it look a bit dirtier. As you can see, there's a little static effect on the screen, and that's in most of the Silent Hill games, if I remember correctly. It's done really poorly in Homecoming, but I don't use it on here because when it's widescreen high res, it looks just kind of bad, because it wasn't meant to be this high resolution. It wasn't meant to apply to that. But some people think the game looks a little too clean without it. I personally prefer it without, unless I'm playing on the PS2 or Xbox, although I only have a PS2 copy. But just thought I'd point that out in case anyone wonders why my game doesn't have that effect. I love that mannequin and how it stays in one position. I think I might have been talking about it. Well, I'll talk about this in a second, but there's something written on the wall. Luis, I'll take care of you forever. It's my destiny. So, this is the box that was referred to. As you can see, it's been locked down pretty tight, and there's a keypad for codes and everything, and some keys. And we're gonna use them all at the same time. We're missing one code, so we're not gonna use it right now. And the forever part is just a reference to how many locks there are. There are 4. So yeah, I was just talking about it. I said I would complete it, so I will. I think this is the only area in the game where enemies can respawn. Just in this hospital is the only area where enemies will respawn. But I love that mannequin pose, and it's how static it is when you're not nearby. It looks excellent. So we're going to use the roof key and go out on the roof. And on the roof, this is just a funny thing to note. Not really funny, actually, it's explained soon enough, but you'll notice that it's dark, it's black, it's night, as opposed to earlier when it was just a foggy daytime. And I just want to point out how amazing these fence textures look and respond to the light. I mean, it looks next gen, and this game came out in 2001, although the PC port came out in 2003. And there's some pages over here scattered all over, so we're gonna look at it. There's something on the floor. Is this a diary? It is. May 9th, rain. Stared out the window all day. Peaceful here, nothing to do. Still not allowed to go outside. May 10th, still raining. Talked with the doctor a little. Would they have saved me if I didn't have a family to feed? I know I'm pathetic, weak. Not everyone can be strong. Excuse me, not everyone can be strong. May 11th. Rain again. The meds made me feel sick today. If I'm only better when I'm drugged, then who am I anyway? May 12th. That's today. Or when I'm recording this. Rain as usual. I don't want to cause any more trouble for anyone, but I'm a bother either way. Can it really be such a sin to run instead of fight? Some people may say so, but they don't have to live in my shoes. It may be selfish, but it's what I want. It's just too hard like this. It's just too hard. May 13th. It's clear outside. The doctors told me I've been released, that I've got to go home. The diary ends here. There are no more entries. What was the diary doing up here? So the implication of that, and I'm going to show you this because I think it's a neat detail. You can see that line that ends the diary. If you look in the background on the memo, the line goes straight and then drops straight down. And with the classic depressive symptoms and, I'm pathetic and weak, on the roof, it's implied this man climbed over the fence, dropped off, and killed himself, which is pretty sad. But depression is a tough rap. I'm gonna try this door. What is that noise? Uh-oh. So... God, he's creepy. Look at his hands. You'll notice on Pyramid Head's hands, his middle 3 fingers are actually bolted. Not bolted, like stapled and formed together. And then he has a pinky and a thumb. Pretty creepy. So, Pyramid Head knocked us off the roof with the blunt side of his knife. And we fell into this room. Now, you'll notice I took damage from that. Usually I wouldn't like when a game takes health during a cutscene, but in this case it's pretty appropriate lore-wise, what with Pyramid Head being his punisher. If Joseph looks calm, he can be taken out of his cell. Yep. Looks like there's some bloody tracks coming from this cell. So we're gonna go inside. There's a bunch of blood right here. There's something written on the wall. Turn, turn, turn. The numbers better not forget them, so I'll write them down here. The other one, my secret name. 6388, I believe that is. So this is your classic padded cell, and the blood kind of implies someone maybe bashed their head a bunch, and then used the blood to write the number. 6388. 88, excuse me. I have to remember that. And this reminds me, they speak of Joseph. I'm actually going to... That's the last code that we need for the box. But firstly, I'm going to go back to the first floor because I did miss something, which I find intriguing. Okay, that was my bad. I remembered incorrectly where a memo was. It turns out it's in the other world and not the normal world, and I didn't want to miss it, so we're going to use those 2 keys that we got, the lapis eye key. We're going to combine it with the purple bull key so we can use them at the same time. And you'll see the lapis eye key takes away that padlock, and the bull key goes into that little slot for the door. But if you'll remember, that bloody memo says turn, 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 which implies that it will be this one that we use this code for, 6388. Perfect. And this other one, 79... I don't remember. That's 79 something 8, I believe. 7981. My bad. So, I'm going to put that code in. 7981. And we've opened the box. Creepy, croaky box noise. This box reminds me of the box in The Force Awakens that holds Anakin's lightsaber. There's nothing inside the box. No, I'm wrong. There are a few hairs inside. So we got piece of hair. So there's some implication, obviously, that's Luis's hair. This theme of obsessive patients obsessed with a girl in Brookhaven Hospital is revisited in Silent Hill 3. There's a character named Stanley Coleman who it's very creepy and kind of follows. It's hard to describe, but follows, for lack of a better term, Heather around the hospital, and is obsessed with her and their love, quote unquote. So, excuse me for a second while I take off my jacket. Okay. It's getting a little hot in here. I started thinking about Heather and I got a little heated. Like a dog in heat. So, we got a piece of hair. Now at this point a lot of people don't know what to do. Thankfully, I do know what to do. We're gonna go into this Nickelodeon slime drain, and we're gonna combine the bent needle with the piece of long brown hair. It was in that box, which James puts in quotation marks. So James is gonna hang the needle on the hair, reach down the drain, because he said there was something down there. And look what we got. An elevator key. So, what we're going to do is we're going to use that elevator key to go down to that row of first floor doors that were locked off. So I'm going to take out my map and show you what I just did. If you'll remember earlier, let me zoom out here, if I can learn how. There we go. So I checked this door here, which is by the staircase, and it was locked. So what we did is we went up to the third floor and took the elevator down, so we ended up here. And very strange, look at the size of that garden compared to the rest of this place. So I'm going to check this door just for completion's sake. I know these are locked. So we're going to check these doors and find in here optional room, but there's a few handy items, handgun bullets and shotgun shells. And I'm gonna check all these doors first, just because I know what's coming. Huh. Usually it would say now it's unlocked before you can go through. So that's odd. So we're going to enter room C2. Some teddy bears.
Laura?
Huh? You know my name?
Eddie told me.
That big fat blabbermouth.
How do you know about Mary?
What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't.
I was friends with Mary. We met at the hospital. It was last year.
You liar! Laura,
Fine, don't believe me.
But last year, Mary was already... I'm sorry, Laura. Anyway, let's go. We can talk about this later. This is no place for a kid. There are all sorts of strange things around here. I can't believe you haven't even gotten a scratch on you.
Why should I? Wait! There's something I gotta get.
Later, okay?
But it's really important.
What is it?
A letter from Mary.
Huh?
I wanna go get it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Come on, hurry up.
Is it in there?
Yeah, in the back.
What are you doing, Laura?
It's further back in the desk.
Laura! What are you doing?
Ha ha, I tricked you.
Open the door, Laura.
Why should I? I'm a liar, right? Want me to open it? Huh? Do ya? What's the magic word?
Laura?
Okay, I guess I won't open it. I think I'll just leave you like this.
You snotty little brat! Open up!
Why, you
Laura?
hurt me.
Okay, so I want to talk about that cutscene, but first I have to fight this boss. And looks like we're doing pretty well on shotgun ammo, so I'm gonna use that. This boss is called it's called Flesh Lip. Also called Lustful Lips. And if you probably saw in that cutscene during the brief flash, you can actually see it has a mouth. It has a few mouths on its body, but you only see the one. And some hanging feet. And the rest is just some weird wrapped up body parts and all sorts of human stuff. And they have a few attacks. When they die, they actually scoot away, and then they'll raise their legs up. And there are 3 of them. This one just came out of the ceiling. And at closest range, I believe they take 3 shots. But my first shot there wasn't as close as possible, so that should be it. Yep.
James.
Sorry, I was yawning. That's one of my favorite little cutscenes. You can hear Mary going, James, James. And anyways, that was the Flesh Lips boss fight. I'm gonna stand here, and first I'll show you on the map. This is the garden, a little bit smaller than they make it look on the map. But it's because we're in the other world now, a different hospital. So the Flesh Lips design, like I was talking about, it has a mouth, it's got some legs, and then it's a in a cage, this little writhing human body wrapped in sort of like a burlap sack with a few poking out little appendages. And the Flesh Lips, obviously, there's some sexual imagery. Even the mouth itself looks a lot like a vagina. The mouth represents, much like the lying figures, spitting of the harsh words. It represents Mary's harsh words. and the verbal abuse towards the end of her life. Again, you will see that later on, but it only plays in a very short audio cutscene at the very end of the game. But it's not really a spoiler, it's just describing, Mary's condition. Also, this is kind of one of my favorite facts, which is that the cage and the box around the sort of writhing appendage represents Mary's, the fact that she's bedridden, that her illness is keeping her confined and stuck in that short little rectangular area, much like a little metal box would. It's generally thought that because Masahiro Ito stated that one of his main influences was Francis Bacon, that inspiration came from Francis Bacon's portraits, which I'll show here, in which, for the most part, a lot of the human appendages and organic-looking meat and people are all locked in some sort of cage, whether it's round or rectangular or whatever. There's usually some thin lines boxed around them, keeping them locked in, which I think is really interesting. Excuse me. I've been up all night. I just wanted to talk briefly about the cutscene. Like I was saying, I wanted to talk about it because James says to Laura, there's all sorts of strange things around here. I'm surprised you haven't even gotten a scratch on you. Which is pretty funny because James is assuming the monsters are there for everyone, which kind of makes sense. It's a good assumption because Eddie mentioned monsters and Angela too. But the fact that Laura says, "Why should I?" implies she sees no monsters, she sees no danger, which is generally thought to be because she's a little child, Despite being a snotty little brat, like James says, she's pure of heart. She doesn't have any guilty conscience, she doesn't have any real big regrets or anything coming into the town, so there's nothing to reflect or punish her for or teach her a lesson about or anything like that, which is why she says, "Why should I?" I also just want to note, I think it's hilarious when she says, "Why, are you gonna yell at me?" And James says, "No, I won't, Laura."
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't.
We met at the hospital. It was last year.
You liar!
But, anyways, pretty interesting that Laura claims to have been with Mary just a year ago in the hospital. Maybe some hint that James isn't the most reliable narrator. Anyways, I think that's a good part to stop. Then, in our next episode, we will finish the Otherworld Hotel. Hospital. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon.